Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. Today guys, I'll be checking out this interesting video from Doug and Ezai, and it's titled Dr. Phil Budges Eyes on Stage at Whoopi Goldberg. Nobody expected this. You guys, I'm excited for this. If you're yet to subscribe to this channel, please consider subscribing. Give this video a massive thumbs up, comment, share, and all that good stuff. And without much ado, let's see what this video is all about.
Yes, it's true. Dr. Phil's eyeballs pop completely out of his head on The View, but he also completely destroys Whoopi Goldberg in this segment, Sarah Haynes, and what's the other one? Ann Navarro. This is Doug in exile. This is how we do it in exile.
In like 08, 09, smartphones came on, and kids stopped living their lives and started watching people live their lives.
We start with agreement, and then he's going to set the whole place on fire.
So we saw the biggest spike and the highest levels of depression, anxiety, loneliness, and suicidality since records have ever been kept.
And also not controversial that depression, suicidality has grown with our use of phones.
That's true.
It's been terrible.
And it's just continued on and on and on. And then COVID hits 10 years later, and the same agencies that knew that are the agencies that shut down the schools for 2 years.
Okay, so now look at his eyeballs bulging out of his head. Dr. Phil has become a sideshow freak. But his comments are correct, that the same experts that knew about the lack of activity and what kids were doing on the phone also knew that you can't take kids out of the public in social distancing. And so they might have saved their life regarding the virus. That's not what I'm arguing at all. I'm only saying if you put kids in what is essentially solitary confinement in a home and no longer allow them to go outside and play with each other in public groups, like there's a certain amount of socialization that happens in our school, the experts knew it would damage them to some degree.
That's true.
Who does that? Who takes away the support system for these children? Who takes them away and shuts it down?
Who does that? It's people like The View. He's going, who does that? Who shuts it down when they knew there would be damage?
And by the way, when they shut it down, they stopped the mandated reporters from being able to see children that were being abused and sexually molested, and in fact sent them home and abandoned them to their abusers with no way to watch, and referrals dropped 50 to 60%.
The View, because they're Democrats and they have politicized this issue, anyone who talks like Dr. Phil right now, they're going to see him as some crazy Trumpy Republican Christian nationalist redneck.
So there was also a pandemic going on.
You guys, Dr. Phil is very, very right with this. And the mistake the government made was shutting schools down for 2 years because kids need to socialize. I see the reason why suicide rate increased during the lockdown, because imagine being abused every single day, and the only way out for you is to go to school and at least forgetting part of the problem until you get home. But now these kids are stuck with their abuser, and being stuck in one place drove most of them to the brink of their sanity. Let me know what you guys think about this video. Dr. Phil is right. Locking the kids in their various homes was more dangerous than them being exposed to COVID. The negative impact of them being shut in their homes far outweighs the impact of what COVID would have had on these children. Kids were not so much in danger as the elderly people. Let me know what you guys think about this. I think they would have regulated the numbers of times kids would have gone to school instead of just shutting them out for 2 whole years. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and let's wrap this video up, you guys.
They were trying to save kids' lives.
Now they're falling over each other now. Whoopi and they were trying to save people's lives. That's all they were trying to do, is trying to save them from the, okay, I'm not denying the attempt. They were trying.
So remember, we know a lot of folks who died during this. So it wasn't, people weren't laying around eating bond, but
he says not school children. And he means Whoopi's saying something correct, by the way. We know people who died, and Dr. Phil is saying something also correct. You know people who died, but not the school children. So locking everything down did not save their lives because they, in general, were not vulnerable.
Well, you know what? We're lucky. Maybe we're lucky they didn't, because we kept them out of the places that they could be sick.
That's not what happened. It's the kids just were not vulnerable to this particular virus the way that older people were. She has invented a political narrative.
Because no one wanted to believe we had an issue.
Now, that's not true, that no one wanted to believe that we had an issue. Everyone knew we had an issue.
Are you saying no school children died of COVID?
Now, Ann Navarro gives a terrible argument saying, are you saying no kids died of COVID? That literally is not what he said.
Nobody said that.
He didn't mean zero. This is a weird thing where once you think that the shutdown was necessary, you now have to argue that there was no possible negative side to it. See, that's what Ann Navarro's doing, and it really shows an unsophisticated mind.
I'm saying it was the safest group. They were the less vulnerable group.
And that is not controversial. It is to the View because they have a political agenda to demonize people who are not 100% on board, yes, sir, marching to the flag and the goose stepping in the streets.
And they suffered and will suffer more from the mismanagement of COVID than they will from the exposure to COVID. And that's not an opinion, that's a fact.
Dr. Phil has done something that is very rare to see on The View. The audience is clapping for him, and they're against all of the 5 panelists on The View. And the hosts are just going to go unglued on them. They're getting this.
Well, Phil, we don't even have time to talk it out now, man.
Oh, yeah, we can't even talk. And Phil's going like, yeah, I'd love to talk about this more. And Whoopi's like going, Dr. Phil has a book. Goodbye, everybody.
But thanks for coming. The new book is called...
Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please be cautious. Don't get me into trouble. I'm Doug in Exile.
Wow, you guys, that was such an interesting one from Doug in Exile. And the kind of questions the View hosts were asking Dr. Phil was very, very embarrassing. Especially the one that Ann Navarro asked him if he's saying that no children died. Of course, we know that kids died during the pandemic. And most of these kids had underlying ailments that led to them dying, not that the pandemic swept them away. Because the kids were not that endangered by the pandemic compared to elderly people. Let me know what you guys think about this. Dr. Phil really mopped the floor with the View host, and I could see that they were more than enraged when the audience started clapping for Dr. Phil. Let me know your thoughts on this particular one, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.